Have you ever felt like you're fighting a battle inside your own head? Like you make a decision only to find yourself doing the exact opposite moments later. You swear you'll be patient, but then you snap. You promise to start that project, but you end up scrolling for hours. What if I told you that this isn't a failure of willpower? It's a fundamental misunderstanding of what your brain actually is. Most of us live our entire lives under a powerful, silent assumption that we asterisk our thoughts. We believe our emotions tell us the truth, and that our choices are made consciously. This feels obvious, right? But modern neuroscience is revealing something deeply unsettling about this belief. Your brain isn't a single, unified you. It's more like a chaotic committee of competing systems, all optimized for one primary goal: survival. Not happiness, not meaning, but raw, biological survival. And here's the kicker. Most of what this committee does happens completely outside of your awareness. The conscious part of you, the part that's listening to this right now, isn't the captain of the ship. It's more like a press secretary, a commentator that shows up after the fact to explain actions that were already set in motion. Think about the illusion of choice. Neuroscientists have run experiments where they can see the brain activity for a decision you're about to make. Sometimes several seconds, before you are consciously aware of having made it. That feeling of "I just decided" is often just your consciousness being briefed on a decision your brain already made backstage. This explains so much, doesn't it? It's why we react emotionally and then desperately try to justify it with logic. It's why we act on impulse and then invent a good reason. The brain acts and consciousness explains. And because that explanation feels like we're in control, the illusion stays perfectly intact. So why can't we just trust our own brains? Because the brain's job isn't to be accurate, it's to keep you alive. To do this, it takes shortcuts. It's biased towards negativity because, in our evolutionary past, missing a potential threat was far more dangerous than seeing a threat that wasn't there. It exaggerates dangers, assumes the worst in ambiguous situations, and fills in gaps in information with familiar, often negative, stories. This is why a neutral comment from your boss can feel like a devastating critique. It's why an unreturned text can feel like total rejection. Your brain isn't asking, "Is this interpretation true?" It's asking, "What's the safest way to interpret this to avoid potential harm?" And very often, the safest interpretation has absolutely nothing to do with reality. This extends to our thoughts. We treat every thought that pops into our head as a profound insight, a piece of our true identity. But most thoughts aren't discoveries. They are automatic firings of old circuits, echoes of memory, habit, and emotional conditioning. Your brain produces thoughts the same way your heart produces beats, continuously and impersonally. The only difference is that thoughts use your voice. They sound like you. And that little trick is what fools us into obedience. A passing flicker of fear becomes my deep-seated anxiety. A random moment of self-doubt becomes "I'm just not good enough." We let this internal noise define who we are. The same goes for emotions. Emotions feel incredibly powerful because they are fast. They are primal survival mechanisms designed to trigger immediate action, long before your logical brain has time to boot up. Fear, anger, desire, these are meant to make you jump, not to make you sit and reflect. But when we mistake these powerful feelings for deep wisdom, we get into trouble. Fear becomes a prophecy of doom. Anger becomes a righteous justification for lashing out. Anxiety feels like a psychic intuition about the future. People make life-faltering decisions based on these temporary emotional storms. And the brain rewards this because it's easy. Reacting is efficient. Reflecting takes energy. But here is the turning point. This is where everything can change. The moment you truly realize that thoughts just appear, that emotions just arise, and that impulses just push or, without your permission, new possibility opens up. You can step back and become the observer. This isn't some mystical concept. It's about creating distance, and in that distance, you find the power of choice. You don't have to fight your brain. You just have to stop mistaking it for yourself. The shift is subtle, but its impact is monumental. Instead of thinking, "I am anxious," you start to notice, anxiety is present in my body right now. Instead of, "I am so angry," you observe, there is a wave of anger moving through me. Instead of feeling a compulsion and thinking, "I must do this," you can pause and recognize an impulse is here and it wants me to act. That tiny pause is your secret weapon. It's neurological leverage. It interrupts the automatic, well-worn pathways in your brain. When you break that automatic identification, the brain's automated programs begin to weaken. The reactions will still be generated, the fear, the anger, the craving, but they no longer own you. You're no longer living inside the storm. You're watching it from a safe distance. From this observer position, everything changes. Emotions become signals, not commands. They're just data you can use. Thoughts become suggestions, not truths. You can examine them, question them, or just let them pass by like clouds. And most importantly, your behavior can finally become intentional instead of habitual. This isn't just feel-good philosophy. It's functional neuroscience. Awareness interrupts automatic circuits, and when you repeatedly interrupt those circuits, you begin to rewire them. This is the foundation of neuroplasticity. So, here's the core takeaway. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not failing at self-control. You have been living inside a biological survival machine that was never designed for the kind of conscious, happy, and fulfilling life you want to live. True freedom doesn't start with trying to change your thoughts or suppress your emotions. It begins with one simple, radical recognition. Your brain is an organ. It's a tool. It is not your identity. The moment you stop confusing the two, you take your first step out of the most invisible prison humanity has ever known. Thanks for watching. If this idea resonated with you, hit that subscribe button, because we're just getting started on this journey. Have you ever wondered why changing your habits is so incredibly hard? Or why you procrastinate even on things you genuinely want to do? We often blame ourselves, thinking we're lazy, undisciplined, or just not strong enough. But what if I told you the real reason has nothing to do with your character? It's not a psychological weakness, it's biology. The single most important rule governing your brain isn't the pursuit of happiness, creativity, or even intelligence. It's energy efficiency. Your brain is a biological marvel, but it's also an energy hog. Despite making up only about 2% of your body weight, it consumes a staggering 20% of your body's total energy. From an evolutionary perspective, that's an enormous cost. To survive, our brains evolved under one relentless pressure: do as little work as possible while keeping the organism alive. This one simple rule explains more about human behavior than most personality theories combined. Your brain isn't lazy, it's profoundly strategic. It's constantly looking for ways to save energy. It does this by automating your behaviors, reusing existing patterns and pathways, avoiding uncertainty at all costs, and minimizing cognitive effort whenever it can. The simple truth is, thinking is expensive, habit is cheap. This is why deep, focused thinking feels so hard. It requires sustained attention, holding multiple complex ideas in your mind at once, and tolerating the discomfort of uncertainty. All of this drains your brain's energy reserves. So, what does your brain do? It actively pushes you toward shortcuts. It steers you toward using cliches instead of performing a deep analysis, adopting pre-packaged opinions instead of striving for true understanding, and having quick emotional reactions instead of engaging in careful reasoning. It prefers familiar stories and narratives over grappling with new perspectives. This is why you can feel completely exhausted after a day of intense meetings or studying, even if you haven't moved a muscle. That mental fatigue is real. It's your brain's self-preservation mechanism, desperately trying to protect its precious energy resources. Think about your day. Roughly 90% of what you do, think, and feel runs on autopilot. The way you tie your shoes, the route you take to work, how you react when someone cuts you off in traffic, how you interpret a colleague's email, even how you evaluate yourself at the end of the day. It's mostly automated programs running in the background. This autopilot mode is not a flaw in your design. It is the default setting. It's what allows us to navigate the complexities of daily life with minimal energy cost. But this efficiency comes with a major trade-off. When you run on autopilot, you sacrifice flexibility. You limit new learning. You reduce your self-awareness, and you neglect long-term strategy. Your brain isn't asking, is this the best possible response in this situation? No, it's asking a much simpler question. Has this worked before? And worked before doesn't necessarily mean it led to a good outcome. It just means you survived. This is why we repeat the same mistakes, get stuck in the same emotional patterns, and find ourselves in the same frustrating situations over and over again. The pattern is familiar, and to the brain, familiar is safe and cheap. This is precisely why change feels so threatening. When you try to start something new habit, a new project, a new way of thinking, You are forcing your brain to abandon its well-worn, energy-efficient neural circuits. You're asking it to build brand new connections and operate in a space without a predictable map. To your ancient survival brain, uncertainty equals risk. This is why starting a new workout routine fills you with anxiety. It's why changing your diet triggers such intense resistance. It's why personal growth feels so uncomfortable, even when it's something you deeply desire. That feeling of discomfort isn't a sign that you're failing. On the contrary, it's a biological signal that your brain is leaving its efficiency mode and entering a state of active construction. You are literally rewiring your mind, and that process is energy intensive. Now, let's talk about procrastination, but in a way you've probably never heard before. We usually label procrastination as laziness, a moral failure. But, in reality, it's a biological conflict between the high cost of effort and the low certainty of the reward. When your brain can't clearly predict the outcome, the reward, or the likelihood of success for a given task, it hits the brakes. It delays action to conserve energy. Why spend all that fuel on something that might not pay off? Instead, it directs you toward cheaper options. This is where scrolling social media, watching another video, or doing trivial tasks comes in. These activities offer an immediate, predictable hit of dopamine with very little effort. Faced with a choice between a difficult, uncertain task and an easy, predictable one, your brain almost always chooses the cheaper option. It's not a moral choice. It's an economic one. Emotions also play a huge role in this energy-saving strategy. Emotions are, in essence, highly efficient decision-making shortcuts. Instead of taking the time and energy to logically analyze every situation, your brain uses simple emotional tags to guide your actions. Fear means avoid. Anger means attack. Pleasure means repeat. Discomfort means escape. This system is incredibly fast and saves a ton of energy. But the downside is massive. It leads to impulsive choices, exaggerated reactions, and a complete disregard for long-term consequences in favor of immediate, short-term relief. Your brain prioritizes fast relief over the optimal outcome every single time. This brings us to willpower. We're told that if we just had more willpower, we could achieve anything. But this is a fundamental misunderstanding of how the brain works. Willpower is not an infinite resource. Think of it as a temporary emergency override of your brain's core efficiency strategy. It's a battery that can run out. The more you rely on sheer willpower to fight against your brain's programming, without changing the underlying conditions or your environment, the faster that battery will drain and collapse. This is why your motivation for a new goal inevitably fades after a few weeks. It's why your discipline crumbles under stress. And it's why New Year's resolutions almost always fail without a structural change to support them. If the environment stays the same, your brain's old, efficient programming will always win in the long run. So, are we doomed to be slaves to our energy-saving brains? Absolutely not. The key is not to try and force your brain with willpower. The key is to outsmart it. You can't overpower the system. but you can learn its rules and use them to your advantage. How do you do that? You have to deliberately and strategically activate conscious thinking. You do this by introducing novelty into your life, creating mild but consistent challenges, intentionally breaking your routines, and asking questions that your autopilot system cannot answer. Simple questions can be powerful tools. Ask yourself, why am I reacting this way? Or what's the assumption I'm making here? Or what is another way to look at this situation? Asking these questions costs energy, and that is exactly why they work. They force your brain to switch off autopilot and engage its more expensive but more powerful conscious mind. To make this shift from autopilot to awareness a regular part of your life, you have to consciously engineer a little bit of friction. Our modern world is designed for mindless consumption and zero friction. To counteract this, you need to make small changes. Change your physical environment, work in a different room, or take a different route home. Remove constant distractions. Put your phone in another room while you work. Intentionally limit your information intake. Focus on one single task at a time instead of multitasking. And most importantly, slow down your responses. Instead of reacting instantly, create a small pause. The brain will resist at first. It will feel uncomfortable, but then it will adapt. This is the magic of your brain's ability to change responds to repeated, consistent effort, not to short bursts of intense willpower. So, let's bring this all together. The core insight is this: your brain resists change, not because you are weak, lazy, or broken, but because efficiency is its highest biological value. If you want to cultivate more awareness, growth, and learning in your life, you have to change your relationship with the process. You must expect resistance. You must understand that discomfort is a sign of progress, not failure. And you must stop interpreting the feeling of effort as a sign that you're doing something wrong. Autopilot is easy. It's the default. Conscious living is metabolically expensive. But here's the beautiful part. Once your brain learns that this new state of awareness is beneficial, that it leads to better outcomes, and is necessary for your well-being, it will begin to reallocate its energy resources accordingly. And that is how a system designed for mere survival can be slowly and deliberately retrained for deep understanding, growth, and a truly conscious life. Have you ever felt like you're living on autopilot? Like you're going through the motions, reacting to life instead of actively creating it? If you've ever wondered why you get stuck in the same old patterns, even when you know better, you're in the right place. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on how your brain decides what's real, and more importantly, how you can take back the controls. So, let's start with a really unsettling idea. Your brain doesn't actually see reality. It builds it. What you experience as the world isn't a direct, objective feed of what's out there. It's a model, constructed moment by moment inside your own head. Think about it. Your brain is hit with an overwhelming flood of sensory data every single second. Sights, sounds, smells, feelings. It's impossible to process all of it. So, to keep you from going completely insane, it has to filter almost everything out. But here's the crucial part. What gets through that filter? What does your brain decide is important enough to become your reality? It's not the most accurate information. It's what the brain considers relevant. And that relevance is determined by a few key things. Your past experiences, your expectations, and most powerfully, where you place your attention. You don't experience the world as it is. You experience the world as your attention allows it to be. Think of your attention as a biological weapon. It's a survival mechanism that evolved to keep us safe. Whatever you focus on, whatever holds your attention, immediately feels urgent, meaningful, and incredibly real. This is why a constant diet of bad news, online arguments, and social media comparison can create a world that feels hostile, anxious, and overwhelming, even if your actual physical life is perfectly safe and calm. Your brain can't tell the difference between a real physical threat and a threat that you are just repeatedly paying attention to on a screen. By focusing on it, you are training your brain to perceive a world filled with danger and conflict. Repeated attention literally trains your perception. Now, let's talk about emotions. Why do they seem to have so much power over us? It's because emotions aren't just random feelings. They are your brain's priority signals. They are the fast-track system that tells you what matters, what to pursue, and what to run away from. That gut feeling, that jolt of anger or wave of sadness, that's your limbic system screaming. Pay attention to this. This is important. Rational, logical thought comes much later, and often it's too late. The emotional decision has already been made. This is the key to understanding why we get stuck. It's why you can logically understand your problems but still repeat the same mistakes. It's why all the knowledge in the world doesn't automatically change your behavior. When you're in the grip of a strong emotion, logic just doesn't stand a chance. And trying to just suppress or ignore those emotions, that usually backfires. It takes a ton of energy and just creates more internal conflict. So what actually works? Recognition. The simple act of naming an emotion, saying to yourself, "Okay, I am feeling anxious right now," or "this is anger," activates the higher, more rational parts of your brain. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. It reduces the intensity of the emotion and, most importantly, gives you back the power of choice. You're no longer just reacting, you're observing. This ties directly into how we remember things. Your memory isn't a perfect video recording of the past. It's not a library where you pull out a dusty, unchanged book. Memory is a creative act. It's a reconstruction process. Every single time you recall a memory, you are subtly rewriting it based on your current mood, beliefs, and what you're paying attention to now. Your brain doesn't remember facts. It remembers the meaning it assigned to those facts. It doesn't remember every detail. It remembers what was emotionally relevant. This is why traumatic memories can feel so fresh and loop over and over. It's why a negative story you tell yourself about who you are can feel like an unchangeable fact. The brain keeps reconstructing that story, reinforcing its emotional weight. And it's also why passive learning, like just listening to a lecture or reading a book, without engaging is so ineffective you won't remember it. Real learning, real memory, happens when you make the information your own. When you explain it in your own words, connect it to your personal experiences, and revisit it over time. You have to actively interpret information to build a strong memory. All of this leads us to a modern paradox: anxiety. We arguably live in the safest time in all of human history, yet we carry a brain that is hardwired for constant threat detection. It's like having a smoke alarm that's set way too sensitive. It scans for danger even when there is none. This creates that low-level hum of chronic anxiety, that background tension, that feeling that something is about to go wrong. So how do we turn down the alarm? The brain calms down when it perceives a sense of control. I'm not talking about just telling yourself everything will be fine. Abstract reassurances don't work. The brain needs concrete action. Things like writing down a plan, breaking a big problem into small, manageable steps, or even just cleaning and organizing a small part of your room. These simple actions send a powerful signal to your nervous system that says, I am in control here. We are safe. Chaos feeds anxiety. Structure calms it. So, how do we finally break out of this autopilot loop? The first thing to understand is that autopilot isn't a flaw. It's a feature. It's incredibly efficient. It saves a ton of mental energy by automating your habits and routines. But efficiency without awareness leads to stagnation. It leads to a life lived by default. True autonomy, true freedom, begins with something called meta-awareness. That's a fancy term for a simple idea: observing your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors as processes, not as your identity. You are not your anxiety. You are the one who is observing the feeling of anxiety. You are not your angry thought. You are the one who is noticing the thought. This requires practice. It means creating a tiny pause between a trigger and your usual reaction. It means noticing the stories you tell yourself and asking, is that really true? It means questioning your automatic interpretations of events. You can weaken the automation by intentionally introducing small disruptions. Take a different route to work. Eat lunch with your non-dominant hand. Listen to a type of music you normally wouldn't. These tiny changes force your brain to wake up and update its model of the world. Let's wrap up with some practical tools you can start using today. These aren't just self-help cliches. They are neurological interventions designed to retrain your brain. First, reduce informational noise. Unfollow accounts that make you feel angry or inadequate. Limit your news intake. Second, practice single tasking. When you're eating, just eat. When you're walking, just walk. Give one thing your full attention. Third, schedule moments of actual silence. No phone, no music, no podcasts. Just a few minutes to let your brain be forth. Practice observing your reactions without judgment. And finally, consider journaling. Writing down your thoughts is one of the most powerful ways to get them out of your head and see them for what they are, just thoughts. Here's the core insight I want you to take away from all this. You cannot directly control reality, but you have immense power to control what your brain treats as real. Your attention shapes your perception. Your perception shapes your emotions. Your emotions drive your behavior. And your behavior, over time, creates your life. Living consciously isn't about maintaining constant, stressful control. It's about developing consistent, gentle observation. And once that observation becomes a habit, your autopilot no longer runs the show. Not because your brain fundamentally changed, but because you finally stopped mistaking its default settings for your destiny. You remembered that you are the one at the controls. See you next time. If you're still here, still watching my videos, I just want to say something simple. Thank you. In this world of endless noise and constant distractions, the fact that you choose to spend your time here with me means more than you can possibly imagine. It means you're one of those rare people who wants to go deeper, who wants to question things, and who looks for answers inside yourself, not just on the surface. I am honestly so happy that there are people like you who share these interests, these questions, and this search for meaning. So, if you feel like this space resonates with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and maybe share this video with someone you know who might need it. Your support helps this content reach more people who are also quietly searching. Thank you for being here, really.